buying coal has gone through the roof because of the carbon tax, and if the industry slowed down from producing more coal, that's just going to raise the price even more. So the fact that it's affecting everyone is not a joke. It's true. People think coal is like a long gone, forgotten industry. People don't use it, but it's not true. A lot of people still use coal, especially in rural areas.
Hey there, Keean Bexte with Rebel News here in Hinton, Alberta, in the heart of Alberta's coal country, with a story to explain what's going on in this province when it comes to coal policy and eco-radicals trying to manipulate Albertans into thinking the provincial government was going to turn the Rocky Mountains into Mordor. Whether you live in Alberta or not, what's going on here is going to be of interest to you because it might happen in your jurisdiction next. See, to start off, there's two different types of coal mining. There is metallurgical mining, and then there's thermal coal, which is used for power. What brought my interest to this story was the fact that journalists were freaking out, mainly because they had no idea what was going on. And this CBC article actually backs that up. It says it's been 8 months since Alberta's UCP government revealed it was killing the province's 44-year-old coal development policy. But what this exactly means for people is still confusing and unclear to many. Now, mainly it's just confusing to journalists, and the evidence is that they've allowed eco-radicals to manipulate the story, to write the story for these journalists. And what it's done in a massive manipulation program is deceived millions of Albertans into thinking that the mountains are going to be turned into Mordor. Obviously, that's not happening. But when ranchers in the foothills and suburban moms in Calgary are concerned, well, Jason Kenney has to listen. And that's when he rescinded his rescinded policy. Jason Kenney went back to the 1976 coal policy, if you can believe it. Yeah, the eco-radical environmentalists actually prefer that we're governed by 1970s policy rather than modern day policy that's written with modern technology in mind. But of course, Rachel Notley is unhappy because what Jason Kenney was going to do was provide certainty for business. What Jason Kenney did was he made it so that corporations who were going around testing for coals, exploring for coal, had some amount of certainty to know that they would have access to a lease on that plot of land that they were exploring, rather than their competition coming and scooping them up. That wasn't a great thing for Rachel Notley and her extremists in the NDP and the eco-radicals who put out this huge Save the Mountains campaign, which you probably saw on a billboard on the QE2. The rule of thumb with Rachel Notley and her socialist NDPs is if a policy provides any amount of certainty to businesses in the province, well, they're not fans of it at all. To keep going on the CBC article, it says, the government announcement came via a Friday afternoon press release. Oh, you can't have journalists working too hard in the afternoon, eh? Just before the May long weekend. Well, I guess that means it was a double whammy, doesn't it? The full implications didn't dawn on journalists, the CBC says. So, as is per usual, they allowed environmentalists to write the story. They allowed environmentalists to convince millions of Albertans that the mountains were going to be blown up. Category 2 land is what it's called specifically, where the policy change happened, was going to just be Mordor all of a sudden with the snap of the fingers. Now, obviously, that's not what's happening, and that's why I'm here in Hinton, in the heart of Alberta's coal country, to speak with folks here, people in the coal industry, people who deal with the coal economy, here in Alberta, here in Hinton, to see exactly what is going on. I want to make sure that Albertans, people in the coal industry, and everyone is up to date on the tactics that these eco-radicals are using to manipulate you into thinking that responsible resource development is somehow killing you and destroying our world. It's not. Spoiler alert, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
The coal industry is probably hurting, and the people that use coal are in dire straits too, because not the carbon tax affects people that are driving vehicles, but it also affects people that use coal. My father-in-law especially used to use a lot of coal. His cost of buying coal has gone through the roof because of the carbon tax, and if the industry slowed down from producing more coal, that's just going to raise the price even more. So the fact that it's affecting everyone is not a joke. It's true. People think coal is like a long gone, forgotten industry. People don't use it, but it's not true. A lot of people still use coal, especially in rural areas.
And exports too.
And exports, I'm sure, for sure.
Now it's like minus 35 here right now. It is unbearably cold, and there's not a huge amount of people that are out and about right now. Normally I'd go to a park and speak with folks, but I settled on a grocery store where there was a few people coming in and out. It is clear that this community relies heavily on coal, not the burning of it to create energy, but the export of it. This community relies on hundreds of people going to work every day so that they can mine coal, explore for coal, build roads so they can get to it, and then of course export it to Asian markets. All this community needs is some sort of certainty from the government. Applications are being denied, canceled, left, right, and center. And in particular, it's not even the provincial government that is the worst on this file. It's actually the federal government. You wouldn't think that. You'd think that Alberta owns its own resources, but Justin Trudeau has put his nose where it doesn't belong yet again, and that comes with the Vista mine, which is just near here in Hinton. The Vista mine applied to expand its operations so that they could export more thermal coal. There's a difference between thermal and coking coal, which is like metallurgical coal. Thermal coal is going to be exported to China so that they can burn it there. They're going to burn that coal regardless of whether we export it to them, Australia exports it to them, or wherever they get it. They will get it and they will burn it. And we were hoping that we could provide that market for them so that we could get that income, those jobs, that security, and that community building here in Hinton and other places across Alberta. But Justin Trudeau, it looks like, is going to say no. They hijacked that approval process from the provincial government, and leftists are absolutely thrilled with this decision because they know that Justin Trudeau is going to probably cancel it. I spoke to folks in Jason Kenney's provincial government, and they spoke to me on the condition of anonymity. They told me that they were seriously concerned, worried even, that Justin Trudeau was going to cancel this application, was going to say no, veto it. And in the process of that, in the process of him grandstanding for liberal elites in Toronto and Quebec, Albertans were going to pay the price. Albertans would be out of jobs, hundreds, if not thousands of jobs. That is more dangerous than anything Jason Kenney is doing. Although that's not to say that Jason Kenney hasn't bungled this file. He's reverted back to a 44-year-old coal policy because eco-radicals hoodwinked a bunch of Albertans into thinking that Jason Kenney was going to turn these mountains into Mordor. That couldn't be farther from the case. What is clear is Jason Kenney needs to grow a spine. Jason Kenney needs to be able to stand up to these eco-radicals with this misinformation campaign when they tricked hundreds of thousands of Albertans into thinking that the mountains were going to be destroyed, tops of mountains were going to be blown off. There was supposedly supposed to be some sort of resource war room that Jason Kenney was funding, spending millions of dollars so that he could actually set the record straight on issues regarding resource extraction in this province. I don't know what happened to that. It certainly hasn't done anything worthwhile for us, because if small groups of eco-radicals that are well-funded are able to trick so many Albertans, what's the point? It's clear right now in Hinton that all they need right now is industry certainty. People waking up in the morning need to know that they will have a job to go to when they finish breakfast. They don't have that right now, and Jason Kenney could provide it to them. For Rebel News in Hinton, Alberta, I'm Keean Bexte. Thanks so much for tuning into our coverage here at Rebel News. Be sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to see more on this story, go check it out at rebelnews.com.